Hello and welcome to Smooth Musings, the podcast from your friends here at Smooth Fusion. My name's Todd Knowlton. I'm the CEO here at Smooth Fusion, and I've got Jake Picken with me. He's our director of marketing, but he also works with our clients on everything from SEO to Google Analytics to Sitefinity Insight. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about what differentiates a tool like Sitefinity Insight, which is a user journey tracking type tool from Google Analytics. And so we get this question a lot. And so we thought we'd just talk about it a little bit. So Jake, welcome.
Thanks, Todd.
And, if I've got Google Analytics, do I really need another data and analytics and user tracking platform?
So I'd say the short answer for that is yes, you should. I think every business should have GA4, Google Analytics. But I think the one big complaint about GA4, which came out it's been out for a year or two, but everyone was kind of forced to migrate to it in the summer of 2023. I think the one big complaint is the UI. It's not very easy to use. Now, some of that is because it is new. And then just another part of that is Google Analytics pulls in just a ton of data, and that, the amount of data that it pulls in, it can be overwhelming. Especially if you don't know how to parse through that data and configure the settings in GA4, or if you don't know how to run any kind of custom reports in GA4. So what I find is marketers just, they go into GA4 and get the basic data from GA4, because really a lot of the other stuff is kind of complicated to understand if you don't have the experience with Google Analytics. So kind of that being said, there's thousands of web platforms, website analytic data platforms out there. We get emails all the time from sales reps at these companies trying to sell us these, data analytics platforms. And I think they just get ignored a lot because first off, we automatically think of Google Analytics when we hear of another data platform. But also, a lot of times marketers are like, well, how is this platform different from what we get with Google Analytics? So yeah, I think a lot of time it comes down to like, do we actually need this tool?
So what would you say? So like just at a high level, because obviously we use Sitefinity Insight on our own site and we use Google Analytics. So just at a high level, what are you going to Google Analytics to glean, and what are you going to Insight for? Like when you're looking for data on our own site, when do you go to each tool?
Yeah, so like kind of like I said, that basic data, web data, the sessions, the users, especially like if I want to see what channels those users are coming from, if I want to see what kind of devices that they're visiting our site from, if I want to get kind of broad geographical data, or see kind of engagement rate and just top pages, stuff like that, is where I go to Google Analytics a lot of times. Now, like I said, there's a lot of custom reporting that you could do in GA4, but it can get a little complicated. There's tools like Google Tag Manager that you can set up custom events on your site, and you can push that data to your Google Analytics, and that's a lot of all that event data is where, I'd go into Google Analytics and find that and kind of parse through that data. Now, when it comes to actually seeing how effective our content is at generating leads or just conversions in general, that's where a tool like Sitefinity Insight comes in. And it's a very a lot of these data platforms um, serve a very unique purpose for your site. So a tool like Sitefinity Insight is going to be it does serve a very unique purpose for marketers. And I'd say the main thing is to see, like I said, how your content is attributing to conversions or whatever you want that outcome to be. That's where a tool like Insight is helpful. It's very easy to use, very easy to set up. The dashboard is, it's really nice to just kind of go in there, see that high level data of how content is performing. So that's what I really enjoy about Sitefinity Insight.
And so in Sitefinity Insight, you're tracking behavior of an individual user, and you can configure in there what what you want to be your touch points. What do you want to be? What do you want to measure? And then your user that comes in is originally anonymous. If they
Mm-hmm.
just come into your site as an anonymous user, talk a little bit about what happens uh, to make that anonymous user no longer anonymous, and then what we can learn from that.
Yeah. So the main way that a unknown user, anonymous user becomes a known user is through a contact form, or you could also in Sitefinity Insight, if you do have a customer list, you can upload that to Insight. Um, so essentially could have known users right away, but the way that I would say probably the most common way you would do it is if someone fills out a form on your site. Now, the great thing about that is that's where the customer journey tracking comes in. Is you can look at the user's the contact, so that individual, you can look at them and you can see every single touch point that they hit on your website. Um, and it's in kind of a um, a list. I'm trying to think of it's in a format that's
Almost
really
like a
easy
timeline.
to, yeah, it's a timeline, exactly. So you can see what source they came to your site through initially. You can see what they interacted with on that first time that they visited your site, and then you can see kind of what led to them actually filling out the form. You'll be able to see all, whatever you set up as touch points on your site, you'll be able to see, what touch points they hit. So if it's a blog post, if it's a specific landing page, if it's even a marketing campaign that you have set up, you'll be able to see how they came to your site and how they converted to a known user. So that's what I like going in and seeing kind of that journey that an individual took on the site. Um, yeah, and there's other reports in Insight that will show you kind of aggregate data on this piece of content is attributing to this many conversions. So not just on the individual level, but you can see on a more broad scale what content, what pages of your site are leading to those conversions.
Yeah. So uh, if I didn't have Insight, if I only had Google Analytics, and I've got a bunch of blog posts on my site that I'm assuming are attracting some traffic, Google Analytics can definitely tell me how many people are coming to each blog post. So, kind of how much inbound traffic I'm attracting with my blog posts. But can Google Analytics tell me uh, which of those, which of those blog posts attributed to a conversion?
Yes, it can.
Okay.
I'd say there's a little more setup that's involved in doing that. And what I've found is um, I think Analytics has a little bit harder time of actually attributing a specific piece of content to a conversion. So I think Google Analytics is really good if you want to see, especially if you have Google ads running or any kind of paid marketing, paid ads that you're doing. Google Analytics is good at seeing the source of that conversion. So where they came from, if they came from this paid ad or this, whatever kind of channel that you have. So if they came from social, if they came from a paid ad. But when it comes to like this blog post attributed to this many conversions, there's just a little bit more that you have to do in analytics with the custom reports. Whereas a tool like Sitefinity Insight, that's really like what I said earlier, is that's what it's meant to do. So it's really meant to show a marketer how effective their content is. So um, obviously, to show how effective content is, it's how many leads is it driving? Like that's what
Sure.
your organization cares about. Um, so yeah, so that's what it's good at doing, and it's kind of there's not a lot of setup that's involved to track that, and it's very easy to see. So that's what I personally like about Sitefinity Insight is I don't have to create all these custom reports and manage all these settings and configure, all this stuff. Even like creating different events with Tag Manager. It's very involved in GA4 to do that. And then not only that, but to be able to see it on an individual level, like a specific contact, you can't do that in GA4. You
Right.
and because there's everyone knows about all the privacy stuff that Google has been through in the past couple of years. That's a big reason why they launched GA4. I mean, the Universal Analytics was really old and outdated, and that's some of the reason why they launched GA4. But a big reason is the all the privacy stuff that they've been going through. So you're just not going to see that in you know with the individual contact level. You're just not going to see that
Yeah.
kind of detail that you would with a tool like Insight.
So let's talk about personalization for a
Hmm.
minute. So obviously a big attraction to Sitefinity Insight is that you can configure all these uh, you know settings, create personas, lead scoring, things like that, to where the behavior of a individual after they are on your site can can drive them into personas, and then on the actual website you can uh, personalize the experience around a persona or a lead
Hmm.
score. So if you didn't have Sitefinity Insight, how would you go about that creating a personalized experience in the website? Would it be,
Yeah,
would
so
that be even possible?
yeah, there's ways to do it in Google Analytics. It does involve some integration and configuration with other tools if you want to get it to the level that a tool like Insight would. But there is a way. There's ways to do it. It's just again, those user segments are there's just certain data that you're going to be able to use to create those segments in analytics, Google Analytics, that um, you know could be helpful if it's a very generic segment. But the good thing about Sitefinity Insight is you can create a persona um, based on very specific contact properties, and also really narrow it down by the content that they're consuming on your site. Which again, I think really what it comes down to for me is a tool like Sitefinity Insight is just so much easier to set up and configure. Whereas GA4, a lot of the stuff you can do, it just requires so much more technical expertise and um, a lot of time, really, to set those things up. Um, so that's why, yeah, a tool like Sitefinity Insight is really nice because you don't, yeah, it's made for marketers. It's not, and that's kind of Sitefinity's goal in general. Even Sitefinity CMS, it's built for marketers. Very easy to use, very easy to create pages and content, and that's kind of where Sitefinity Insight is too. They want it to be easy to use because I think they know that if it's difficult to use, if a tool's difficult to use and set up and configure, marketers aren't going to use it.
That's right.
And that's why I go to Google Analytics, and many marketers just go to Google Analytics for that high level web data because it's easy to access. And when it comes to the more in-depth reporting, it's difficult to set up. So um, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, and I think even with Insight, we always encourage our customers to start small, because even with a tool like Insight, you can get in there and kind of overdo it at the beginning. You need to
Yeah.
get in there and
Hmm.
just start small and learn as you go. Just to be clear, uh, Sitefinity Insight doesn't replace GA4. You still want
No.
GA4 because
Yeah.
Insight's not going to gather browser data or any of those kind of things that analytics, Google
Yeah. The
Analytics does, right?
yeah, it's bit like if you have Google ads, paid ads running and stuff like that, the reporting that you're going to get in GA4 is going to be, you'll get more detailed reporting for sure. Not to say you can't bring that data over into Insight, because there's a lot of, especially event data, any events that you had set up with Google Tag Manager, those custom events on your site, you can, Sitefinity has a tag template in Google Tag Manager that you can use to send that data over to Insight, which is a really neat tool that they have. So yeah, so there's ways to get that information over, but yeah, definitely, yeah, you don't want to. I think every website should have GA4 for sure.
Sure.
It's kind of the standard, right? But there are a lot of useful tools out there, like Sitefinity Insight, that they can, you're just going to get easier access to data that you wouldn't get with GA4. So
and be able to make that data actionable more easily.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think like a tool like GA4 is very overwhelming. There's so much data that you could go through, and I feel like you can get into I feel like marketers do this a lot where they can gather so much data and report on it, and but the real value of data is taking action on it, which a tool like Sitefinity Insight is really good at doing. Um, so yeah, you don't want your data just to inform you. You want it to direct your marketing campaigns and how you're marketing to your customers.
Yeah, that's good. So, anything else you want to make sure you mention before we wrap up?
Uh, I'd say, yeah, if you do have a website that's built on Sitefinity, it's you should be using Sitefinity Insight. There's no reason why you shouldn't. It's free up to a certain amount of um, visitors per month, but yeah, and there's a lot of tools out there to kind of get you started. There's you know a you're working with a partner like Smooth Fusion, and there's other partners out there that have worked with Sitefinity Insight a lot. Yeah, just
Yeah,
there's a lot of help out there.
Yeah, and I'll just real quick mention the way we recommend for our customers is we offer an engagement model where we help our customers either on a monthly or a quarterly basis to just incrementally make progress on the setup of Insight and the way you utilize that, the results coming from that, start to personalize things back in your Sitefinity site, because it really is just getting started is what's important. And as you go, you'll start to see the value of it and what you can, the ideas will start flowing for sure. So we thank everybody for joining us today. Hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us here at Smooth Fusion. We'd be glad to talk with you individually, or if you just have an idea you'd like for us to cover on a future podcast, we'd be happy to do that as well. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Smooth Musings. If you liked today's episode, make sure to subscribe, share it with someone, and rate us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. This podcast is presented by Smooth Fusion. If you'd like more information about Smooth Fusion and how we help our customers with websites, custom software, and more, go to www.smoothfusion.com.